New cars, they've become expensive, complex, quite disposable. Screens everywhere, subscription services, none of it feels built to last anymore. So in this video, I'm going to cover the exact opposite. 4 perfect forever cars. Everyday cars that you can still get your hands on today, but they were built to last. And with a bit of care, they'll easily outlive anything available in showrooms nowadays. Now before we begin, let me define what I mean by a forever car, because it isn't necessarily the cheapest to run or the most hands-off ownership experience, and given that some are getting older now, it might not even be the easiest to find. But it's a car with the engineering, the durability, the long-term part support to be on the road for decades to come. If all you want is the most reliable, fuss-free motoring possible, I'll save you the trouble now. Go off and buy yourself a mid-2000s Toyota Yaris and be done with it. Nothing wrong with doing that whatsoever. A forever car though, it needs to have one other important aspect alongside that sheer survivability. Desirability. You need to want to keep it around. And here's 4 that I certainly wouldn't mind keeping around. First up, a car for me that captures the forever car brief almost perfectly. The W211 Mercedes E220. Now for non-car geeks, that's the E-Class Mercedes that came with a 2.2 litre diesel engine. Now they made these from 2002 right up until about 2009, although you are going to find the odd late registered 2010, 2011 example out there. Now these represent that sweet spot between modern comfort and engineering, but before a time when we had this over-dependence on electrics and complex software. Specifically here, you're going to want to look at facelift cars, so that's 2006 onwards, for a couple of reasons. First up was corrosion protection. It was significantly improved at this point, and that makes a big difference now that these cars are getting older. The pre-facelift cars as well, believe it or not, they actually used a brake-by-wire technology. So rather than a hydraulic connection between your foot on the pedal and the brake calipers, it relied on a series of different sensors and electrical communication. As you might expect, it aged like a bad curry. But thankfully, they scrapped that and went back to a more traditional setup in the facelift cars. Now these are tough cars, and I don't say that lightly. I've seen them with over 500,000 miles on the clock, original engine, original gearbox, still going strong. So look for a facelift, get one as rust-free as possible, and if you can, avoid the airmatic suspension. Both the struts and the compressor, they can both fail, and they can be very costly to put right, so stick to standard springs and shocks. Find a good one of these, look after it, and it will outlast just about anything made nowadays. Now, number 2 in the list. Imagine a car that Toyota, of all people, synonymous with reliability, set out to make as faultless and long-lasting as possible, intentionally over-engineered to stand the test of time. Well, that car is the second generation Lexus GS300. For a start, it used a non-turbo version of the biblical 2JZ engine, the very same that you're going to find in the fire-breathing Supra models of the same era. It is a legendary status engine with a real cult following for good reason. The phrase bulletproof, we band it about so often, don't we? But if there was ever an engine worthy of that description, it's the 2JZ. Now to help broaden your search a bit here, because they can be tricky to find, they also made a GS430. Now this was the larger V8 version of the GS, and it is equally as special, just as dependable, and just as capable of unbelievable mileages as well. Now the reason I'm keen to broaden that search criteria for you is, well, here's the catch. They only built these until 2005, so finding a good one nowadays, whilst not impossible, can be tricky and might take a little bit of time. They do still come up for sale though. After 2005, Lexus brought out the newer generation of the GS300, and they switched over to a V6 engine opposed to the inline 6 that the 2JZ had. Now, whilst these were still good cars, don't get me wrong, They just didn't have that same legendary reputation for reliability as the older ones. They switched over to direct injection on that V6, and as a result, some suffered quite badly from carbon buildup and subsequent oil use. So if you can, stick with the older model. Third, personal favourite of mine, a car that I am very familiar with, the Honda Accord. Now what I'll say about an Accord is very few cars have such a legendary roster of engines. It's seen some of the best ever made. It's just been greatest hit after greatest hit under that bonnet. So they made these from 2008 until 2015. So if you're looking for a slightly more modern choice, this might be the way to go. They started out life with a choice of two different petrol engines, both part of the same family, the legendary K series. So we got the K24 and the K20. Now these are, in my opinion, some of the best four-cylinder engines ever built. Capable of incredible mileages, even with absolute neglect. Now the K24, that was the 2.4 litre variant, and it's a bit rarer in the UK because of its higher tax band, higher emissions, but you're going to find plenty of K20s out there, the 2 litre variant, and that is an engine verging on indestructibility. What's good about it as well is it's also intuitive and easy to work on. So when it does go wrong, which is not very often granted, it's easy for even a home mechanic or DIYer. Now if diesel's more your thing, they also brought these Accords out with the 2.2 Honda unit, one of the best easy to find diesel engines that we've got here in the UK, which means parts are really plentiful for them as well. It was a powerful, robust, economical engine. The diesel though, one thing to bear in mind here, if you're coming at this from a DIY home mechanic point of view, you're maybe better sticking with the petrols. And the reason I say that isn't because the diesel was a bad engine, far from it. It was just, as they tend to be, inherently more complex than the petrols. Now last, but certainly not least, the glory years of Volvo. Specifically here, I'm referring to the Volvos produced in the P2 era. So 2001 until 2007. Couldn't make this video without referring to them. Wouldn't feel right. This, for me, was peak Volvo. This is when they were fitting their renowned 5-cylinder engines to pretty much their whole lineup. Now, the one that I'd be going for here would be a V70. It's likely the easiest to find as well. But here's a list of the other Volvos where you're also going to find these renowned 5-cylinder engines. The petrols, you could get these in either naturally aspirated or turbocharged T5 form, as they're often referred to. The diesel, or the D5, that was a great engine as well, likely one of the most reliable diesel engines ever produced. I've actually got a subscriber here on the channel that's got a D5 V70, and I think when we last spoke, it was crossing over 550,000 miles on the clock. Original engine, original gearbox, still going strong. Hopefully he'll comment on this video. Only other thing I'd mention on these Volvos is stick with the manuals. The automatics, they weren't quite as reliable as those 5-cylinder engines. They could occasionally have issues once the mileage started to get up there. So stick with the manual if reliability is the top priority here. Now, although all the cars I've spoken about, these are arguably some of the most reliable ever made. Many of them are getting older now, so there is going to be little jobs and maintenance along the way. Of course there is. The key thing here is find a car that's got a good history of maintenance, ideally one that's had a lot of the common jobs addressed and it's got the history to back it up. And let me finish this video up with a question back to you. What other cars should be in this list? It's not exhaustive by any means, it's just 4 that I personally think absolutely fit the bill. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Please do keep liking, keep subscribing, and I'll see you in a few days' time.